Welcome back, Guardians. In today's report, we will discuss the most chivalrous of us all, our armor-adorned defenders of our last bastion, the illustrious and respected Titans. Often when we describe various Guardians, we look to divide them into various groups. Hunters are identifiable as being sneaky or shifty. Warlocks can be cold and vague. But how do you properly describe a Titan? Certainly, visually identifying a Titan from a group of Guardians isn't all too challenging. You just look for the broadest shoulders, perhaps the most impressive armor, or a sash of an order that Titan chooses to represent. But you don't describe a Warlock as being dismissive or cryptic. You couldn't present a Hunter as only being interested in glory. So we shouldn't describe a Titan by simply their armor, but by their history. In the history of Titans is the foundation of the last city, for without their hardship, the walls wouldn't have been built, the watchtowers would have gone unmanned, and when a sacrifice was needed, its call would have gone unheard. This is the story of the Titans, our defenders of the light and our protectors of the last city. To better define the Titans, we need to deeply examine the battles and leaders that emulate a Titan's quality traits. Titans are seemingly infused with a strong sense of honor and an incorruptible duty to either protecting the city or to strike out against the alien hordes that may threaten us. One of the most iconic and legendary of all Titans is, of course, Saint 14, the XO veteran that led a crusade against the fallen House of Devils that threatened the city. Saint 14 would cut a swath through the fallen House of Devils to reach their Kel Solkis, ending his reign of terror and dismantling the Devil's primary source of organization. And Saint 14's vendetta versus the Fallen was not misplaced. The House of Devils was responsible for countless civilian and refugee deaths since the time of Raziel Azir. But to best explain the Titan story, we should start with the first Guardian that is perhaps most closely linked to being a Titan, or at least influenced the classification's definition. We speak, of course, of Raziel Azir. Raziel came from a time when Guardians were not defined by classes. They existed in a semi-flux state, learning a wide variety of disciplines to control light or to harness its energy into formulated attacks. They were called Risen, typically due to a Guardian's death-defeating stunt when revived by a ghost. But more importantly, Raziel would eventually define what it meant to be a Titan. All Titans would owe some of their heritage to this individual, regardless of his later fall from grace. I've compiled a more in-depth report on Raziel Azir, and I recommend that you read that report for more information. But to summarize, Raziel would fight in the Faction Wars, a series of conflicts where humanity was divided under the shadow of the Traveler, battling for their ideologies on how to survive this new age. Eventually, the faction wars would end with a semi-uneasy peace, and this was due to the arrival of the first fallen pirates, seeking to remove humanity from under the Traveler and claim the dead god as their own. Raziel had been a champion of these wars, a leader. Against the alien pirates, he had been more. If the giant, referring to the Traveler, wasn't a god, then maybe Raziel was. Raziel, along with other Titans, would see to the first walls being built around the city, as this was the most efficient response to defending the refugees of the last city and the Traveler itself. However, due to Raziel's turn to darkness and adoption of the name Dredgen Yor, few Titans will claim their class is related to such travesty to a traitor with no aim other than forwarding his own legacy. Instead, Titans choose to define themselves by the walls surrounding the city that their predecessors created and in turn would become its most stalwart of defenders. One of the first recorded battles of the last city occurred during the City Age. Its name and historical details would forever transform the Titans from the mountains of muscle, as they were commonly stereotyped, to the city's most capable protectors. That battle was called Six Fronts, a battle in which 6 enemy positions advanced against 4 unbreakable Titan orders. Six Fronts has some of the richest history that Titans have clinged or attached themselves to, and for the right reasons. The Iron Lords led invincible patrols. The Firebreak commanders strove out and reclaimed acres of scorched territory. Saint 14 and the exiled warlock Osiris led battalions against the Fallen incursions. It was the largest and most coordinated attack the city had ever faced, and its sovereignty would be tested by weighing the strength of its Titan orders against the unending Fallen aggressions. The first defenders, the Void discipline of the Titan, would make an impressive and perhaps first appearance at Six Fronts, where it was described as simply holding the walls was not enough. The Titans had to become fortifications in themselves. Later, during the Vanguard expedition to retake the moon, a Titan by the name of Wei Ning would embody the definition of a defender, protecting her fire team and refusing to accept any defeats. The Titans would eventually prevail at the city's first trial, and while they are not the only Guardians to participate in this victory, salvation was achieved largely through their sacrifice. While the Titans' legendary achievement at Six Fronts should never be forgotten or trivialized, it's important to discuss the more notable Titans and the influence they've had on the entire class of Guardians. Holborn's expedition to Mars, sanctioned by Shaxx and Zavala to search for the information regarding Rasputin, is a peculiar case. It is said that Holborn taught his followers the discipline of the Striker. These arc-based abilities allowed Titans to become more offensive juggernauts, making them incredibly formidable against the hard composite armor the Cabal utilized. The 12-pointed star would commemorate all Titans who would follow Holborn to Mars, calling themselves Holborn's host or in the city's hand on Mars. Holborn's fate is either unknown by the Vanguard or he simply has been forgotten with the passage of time. Regardless, his impact on Titans has been felt throughout the ages, and his legacy of Strikers will no doubt continue. The Sunbreakers, however, are a completely different story, one mired in controversy and confusion. Typically, Titans are seen as honor-bound to protect the city from any danger, whether foreign or domestic. But some Titan orders, like the Sunbreakers, predate the foundation of the city. This Titan order has rejoined the ranks of the city, but a majority of the Sunbreakers have acted as mercenaries, operating under human fiefdoms led by untamed warlords. Becoming a Sunbreaker and wielding the very fire of soul is no simple feat, and it's something few Titans actually strive to accomplish. Lord Shaxx has stated that becoming a Sunbreaker is not a challenge of character, but a test of ability to harness the light. The forge breaks the brittle, and it bends the weak, but the strong walk away steeled and tempered, unbreakable. The light, harnessed by the Sunbreakers, has never been seen inside the walls of the city, at least until recently, when Titans have begun to accept the Sunbreaker oath and forge a new fate for the Timeless Order. The final and perhaps greatest memento to all Titans is the participation of the legendary Iron Lord Saladin and the now Crucible Handler Lord Shaxx in the greatest battle to test the city, the Battle of Twilight Gap. The battle has two separate names, but prior to the Taken War, it is the first engagement that took place at more than one location across the solar system. First, a combined offensive effort of fallen houses at the city walls, and secondly, the engagement in the reef against the would-be reinforcements, the House of Wolves. Initially, the city held against the United House's artillery fire, concentrated by batteries of walker units, but the cost was uncountable. Titans, warlocks, and hunters all fought in the Battle of the Gap, but the legends that rose that day surrounded Lord Shaxx and the counterattack that broke the Fallen. Shaxx and his trusted companion, the Battle Frame Archite 99, would lead Guardians and other Battle Frames in a fierce counterattack that would retake sections of the wall occupied by the Fallen. But Twilight Gap is often regarded as a Pyrrhic victory for all Guardians, including Shaxx, Saladin, and Zavala, and would push the three to prepare the next generation of Guardians so that another gap may never happen. For Saladin, this meant the formation of the Iron Banner tournament, although technically it's run with the administrative assistance from Shaxx. Lord Shaxx in turn would form the Crucible, a live fire combat simulation that pit teams of Guardians against one another with ghosts ready to resuscitate the dead. It is rumored, but unconfirmed, that the fabled rocket launcher, the Gjallarhorn, was forged from the armors and light of dead Guardians that perished during the gap. Apparently, there are only a set few in existence, so obtaining one is equally rewarding for both historical value and for multiplying a fire team's firepower. But we've omitted so much. What of the Iron Lords, the Guardians like Lady Jolder and Lord Radagast, those who fought in the time before the city had walls, in the wilderness against the tyrannical warlords? What of Caber, the Legionless, Wei Ning, Vel, Tarlo, and the missing Titan orders? What became of Saint 14 and Holborn's host? You see, Titans are much like warlocks and hunters. They seek to uncover their past, what and who they were. And in the process, they define themselves as our protectors, the wall builders, and the stalwart bulwark against the oncoming storm of darkness. To the Titans, we salute you. Your sacrifice at Six Fronts will never be forgotten or trivialized to history, and the glory you attain now, you secure for all Guardians of all classes. Walk tall, Guardians. Hey everyone, Wally here. If you'd like to support the channel further, please feel free to check out the script link, my Patreon, and the new apparel in the Spreadshirt shop, all linked down below. If you want to join the conversation on our Discord server, we allow everyone in. Like the video if you enjoyed the content, and subscribe for more.